What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Hardcore Fab Shop. I am back to work on the truck again today, and I am going to be working on the hump just like I promised, and I'm also going to get a slice down through the center of the cab here for the drive shaft. So that's why I scrounged up this piece of pipe. I'm going to take me about 4 inches or so off of it, and I'm going to use it for a drive shaft hoop, and I'm going to build it right in here into the floor, so it'll be mounted solid in the truck. And then I'm going to build everything else all around it. So let's get started. Okay, so it turns out that 4 inches looked like it was a little bit too much, so I only went about 2.5 inches. And I marked on here where the drive shaft was before I pulled the cab off, so now I've got that centered on where the drive shaft's at, and I just need to mark it and cut it out, and I'll get it welded in right there, and then we'll be ready to move on. Alright, I got that bad boy in there. Welds aren't beautiful, but they're in there. They're not too bad. It's kind of hard to weld something that thick to a piece of tin. And you can see I got good heat in there. I'm not touching it because it's still hot, but yeah, there's some heat in there. I think I'm going to go ahead and plate the backside of this. Ooh, that's hot there too. I'm going to plate the backside of this as well, and that'll help give that all some strength, and it'll actually kind of give this whole piece in through here a little bit more strength as well. So knock that out, and then we'll be ready to actually put the hump in. For this side, I burned out a piece of 1/8 inch just to give us a little bit more strength in here on this thing. That'll work. I'll burn this all in, and we should be good to go here. Alright guys, check this out. I've been trying to get the tunnel set in here where I can get the final marks on it. I had to end up drilling some holes in there, and I got baling wire running everywhere all over the place, and finally got it in there and suspended just so that I could come over here on this side and get kind of that final line on there where I needed it to be for the final fit up here against that piece underneath the seat. So I just took my marker and ran it right down the side there and got my line on both sides. Now I can pull this thing out, cut it, and hopefully we'll be pretty close to where this thing will fit in there, and then I can trim off the bottom and we'll be good. Alright, I decided before I spend the rest of the afternoon welding this in, to take a second and throw the cab back on here again real quick and just kind of double check everything. All of that looks pretty good. I need a little bit more room in here around my shifter because it hits and it won't actually go into park. And I think that's about it. Everything else is looking good. I got that piece of pipe in there, and it's actually on top of the yoke, and it goes through the cab and is on top of the rear end there. So everything's clear in there good. I made a couple more extra marks in there, so I got a little bit better reference points. And since all that looks good, I think I'm ready to weld it up. All right, got her all stitched in there. Looking good on both sides. This side's actually flush along the bottom there, and this side was hanging down just a little bit, so I went ahead and welded it anyways. I'll just hit that with flap willow later when I have the thing lifted up with the forklift. There is still a hole there on the side because I need to build a little bit of a clearance box or pocket or whatever, if you will, to clearance the vacuum module on the side of the tranny. And the front of this is hanging out past the firewall, so that later when I go ahead and put the firewall in, I can make this thing fit flush right up against that. Okay, so now with all that said and done, I think it's time to go ahead and move in here and get this tunnel in for the drive shaft. I am going to make something in here that's kind of square and boxy looking. I'm not doing it because it's the easiest thing to do. I am doing it because I kind of have a plan in here to have that tunnel part be the base of kind of like a storage box or a console or whatever you want to call it, if you will, right through there. And I don't want to have a round bottom in the bottom of my console. In the end, you won't be able to see any of the stuff that I'm getting ready to build right now anyways. So time for less talk and more work. you get the idea of what I'm doing here. I got a bunch more time that I need to spend with this thing, so I'm just going to get back to it, and we'll call this video done for today. So we'll see you next time.